Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for another few minutes of fun. This tag that I have stamped and coloured on is ready to have another flower on it, and so I thought I'd invite you along for that process. So really it's kind of going to be colouring in today, but that is fun. You might be able to see, if I can catch the light with it, that there is a touch of shimmer on this tag. That comes courtesy of the Distress Spritzes, but the rest of it was done with the Distress watercolour pencils that you can see around here. The tag is a Prima one that, yeah, comes like that. So I really haven't done anything special. And I'm going to be using the stamping platform because that allows me to stamp and then colour and then get some detail back. So I think what I'll do is I will zoom in a little bit so that you've got a closer look at it. This stamp comes as part of the Tim Holtz French Garden stamp set, which is quite a recent release. And yeah, was just one that I couldn't resist, I'm afraid. So let's do a bit of stamping and colouring. Back in a sec. I've zoomed in on the stamp platform, so I hope that will give you a closer up view of what's going on. And yeah, if you've not met stamping platforms, I'm not going to do a tutorial on that as such today, but there are lots of videos on YouTube showing you the advantages of stamp platforms, what they'll do. Basically what it is it'll hold my tag, my paper, my substrate in place, so that I can stamp, lift up and come back again. I was thinking of doing the same stamp, but at a different angle, sort of coming in from the top. But I think what I might do is just explore with this other rosy sort of stamp. You can see I'm pulling that out of the stamp plate for the first time. This is a new stamp set to me. Yeah, I think that'll be quite nice up there. These little magnets are just about holding that tag in place, but I've also got it right down in the corner here, so should something happen, should it move around for some reason, I will be able to shift it. I might in the long run add some leaves in places, but we'll see how we go. So all I need to do is position that stamp where I want it, then I can come over with the stamping platform and pick it up, so it works just like an acrylic block to stamp and hold that. I'm going to ink that up with quite a pale Archival, just because I don't need a full-on image at the moment. I'm going to be colouring, and so I just need to see where I need to go with my colours. So I'm inking that up with Pebble Beech, I think that is. Could be watering can, could be anything else, because in the long run with this one I stamped over in darker colours at the end. So, so lesson learned, the tag is a bit busier up here, so that's actually quite hard to see the image and what I'm doing, so I might go with something just a little darker. And here's the beauty of the stamping platform, is that because it's all held in place, I'm not going to take that stamp off there in the meantime. That should enable me to put down the same stamped image in exactly the same place, no blurring, no fuzzing, no none of that, and give me a darker version. There we go. So what I'm going to use are these Distress watercolor crayons, watercolor pencils. They come in mixed sets of mixed color palettes, so I've reordered these to give me my ombre set, so my reds and pinks, my oranges and yellows, my yellows into greens. If you want to see all those Distress watercolour pencil colours and swatching, there is a lovely long video of that, which I will link in the description below, along with all the details of these. So I am experimenting as I go. I'm going to put some darker reds. Let's see, what should we start with? Maybe Lumberjack Plaid, actually, right down in the shaded parts. So here it's just about following the shading that is already on the image. So where that dark shading is, I'm going to say that's darker colours that want to go down in there. So I'm just adding a bit of colour direct to the tag, just watercolour pencils straight onto the tag. Some places. I don't want to go sort of just red, so there's going to be a dot of ripe persimmon in there. That's going to give me a sort of shift of colour, something a little fresher, orangey, and so I might use that in a couple of other places. And after 5 days of rain, the sun is coming out. Hopefully you can enjoy that with me. I don't know, candied apple. I don't use reds and oranges very often. So when I'm working with these colours, I'm always a little tentative. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a water brush to just start spreading that colour out. Is there water in there? Yes, there is, and it's quite dark for some reason. Didn't clean that nib very well, did I? So we did have some autumn colours last weekend for a few minutes of fun, but there are still rosebuds coming on my rose bushes. So autumn hasn't taken over here yet. So given there are still rosebuds coming on my roses, I'm still going to enjoy some roses in the craft room. Plus this stamp set's only just got here, so now's the time to play. So I'm just wetting that colour, and as you can see, it moves around beautifully on the slightly slick surface of the tag. So it's allowing me to spread that colour up and out into the tops of the petals. I've got, as always, paper towel around that allows me to just knock back the colour if there's too much going on, or if I've gone too far outside the lines. I don't mind going a little way outside the lines. As you can see, I sprinkled colour liberally in other places. What I quite like about this is that ripe persimmon, that kind of soft peachy colour, is blending out beautifully from those darker places. And this is layering. This is allowing colours to play and interact. I think I used some spun sugar, in fact, on some of these, so I'm going to have that around on some of the paler petals. Just take a look at what that does. And I think I might want some darks right in the centre of the flower. So back to, it was Lumberjack Plaid, but not too much because I don't want to overdo things. So that's a bit of Lumberjack Plaid. I might even go so far as to have, what else have we got? Oh, see, Crackling I do love Crackling Campfire. I'm quite familiar with Crackling Campfire because I use it for autumn leaves. So it's a colour I have some experience with. That's a bit too orange now, so I'm just going to knock that back. And let's see what these darks in the centre get me. So they're giving me kind of depth in the middle of the flower there. And I'm liking the sort of dusky rose appearance I'm getting from that. But I think, it was Lumberjack Plaid, wasn't it, that I had down at the very start here. And I think I'm going to beef that up a little bit right down at the stem. Beef that up a little bit round in these shadows. Beef that up a bit in various shaded places, just so I'm getting those contrasts of light and dark. Oops, just tried to put that back in the lid of the water brush. That's not going to work. I think we could do with a bit more Lumberjack Plaid down in this shady bit, just to shape those petals. It's a very complex flower, this one. See, I'm doing it again. Now there's red Lumberjack Plaid all the way in my water brush lid. Marvellous, excellent. I'm going to have to do something about cleaning that out because it'll just infect the nib, and then I'll have red all over everything. So at this stage, you're probably thinking, oh, but that's just a mess of colour. Well, yes, because what's happened is, as I'm doing this, I've kind of gone over some of the detail of the stamping, but that's the whole purpose of doing it on the stamping platform, is I'm going to be able to retrieve all that detail and it's all going to come zooming back. Going to let that dry a little bit, because one of the things I want to do is on these I added some white highlighting, as you can see, and of course we've also still got the Distress Spritz to come. But in the meantime, I'm going to add a little bit of colour to my leaves. So this is peeled paint going on, and you can see I'm applying that really quite loosely. It's all going to happen in the blending. So that's Rustic Wilderness, which is going to give me some darker shading along some of the shadowy parts of the leaves. I think this is a petal here, isn't it? I might save that for a bit of sparkling shimmer. And there's a little bud going up there, and there's the stem. So as I blend that out, I need to make sure I haven't got pink on the nib. And I have, because it's been in the lid and there's stupid Lumberjack Plaid in the lid now. I'm going to have to deal with that sooner rather than later. So that's just spreading out the colours, the green a little bit there. And again, it doesn't have to be precise, because I'm going to come back in with a stamping and that's going to give me lots more detail. I do want a little bit of, I think I even used some Kitsch Flamingo last time. This petal here needs a bit of colour. And I am at this point going to get myself some Distress Spritz, and this is in the peeled paint colour. Give it a good shake. Ah, there goes the ball. You can hear that there's a little ball in there to pick up the powder and pigment, which is the shimmery bit. I'm going to pop a bit of that just onto the side of my stamping platform here, pick that up and apply it directly to these leaves. And at the moment you won't see much of that shimmer, because it's all about when it catches the light. Maybe want some darker green right under the under the rose here. So again, that's about shadows. I might even go with, what have we got here? A bit more Rustic Wilderness, I think, to go right in and fool the eye. It's going to be assisted by the stamping when it happens again, but I think I'd like just a bit more greeniness going on there. That's now blending with the Distress Spritz. That's all fine. Just to get those colours going. So for the white, what I used was actually a white pen. I can't remember now if it was, there's a Uniball and there's a Poster paint pen, which is, again, is one that needs shaking. And all I did was I kind of looked where the tops of the petals were and just added a bit of that. No, I think it was the Uniball. A little bit of that right at the edges of the tops of the petals. And then just used my finger to blend it out a bit, because what that does is it just gives you that highlight where the light falls, just catching I think there's probably some around here, maybe a little bit along here, and it's just giving me those little highlights that again are telling me where light and shade are happening, catching the tips of the petals, catching the tips of the petals. And then again, just with a little bit of, this is worn lipstick, and it's a much, there goes the ball. So you sometimes have to be a bit forceful to get these things to cooperate. Got the ball going, checking the bottom to see if you've got lots of spritz powder stuck there. As long as you've got most of it up, then you're going to be ready to have a little. So again, I'm just adding some of that to the mat, or to the stamping platform mat, so that I can just add a touch of shimmer in places. And again, you you won't necessarily see what that's doing right now, but I promise you, and that's the leaf, that's the petal I was saving to catch a shimmering light. And then what I also did with this was I just did a little bit of picking that up to spatter it. Need a bit more to do that. Another little spritz. Clean the nozzle, always a good idea if you've got pigment powder or mica powder in a spray, to just get into the habit of cleaning that nozzle. So that's just giving me a little bit of soft summery shimmer. Like I say, it's not quite over yet. Our leaves on the trees are still overwhelmingly green, particularly given we've just had all this rain. But there we go. Let's give that a quick dry. I don't want to dry too much, because what I don't want is the tag to curl up too much, because that risks the image not going back down quite where you want it. So it's going to wobble the camera, but I am going to zoom right in and see if I can show you that image before and after the stamping platform goes down on it. So there it is. Hopefully that's reasonably in focus. Let's move these across so that you've got a decent view of what's about to happen. So there is, nice, loosely coloured. Here's my stamp, still on the stamping platform, hasn't moved. And I'm going to go back in with a combination of potting soil and some, it's not actually jet black, this is lying. This is my Archival jet black pad, which when I re-inked it, quite deliberately, I re-inked it with the Distress Archival black soot. Just, I love black soot as a black. It's a really, really dark black, whereas jet black has a sort of bluey grey tone to it. So yeah, when I re-inked this, I re-inked it with the Distress Archival formulation of black soot. So it is an archival ink. It's just got a bit more. So I'm applying those. Yeah, you can't see that, can you? Another time for multiple inkings. I'm just going to and fro. I'm edging on the colour I want. Can I pick this up? Is it a risk that it won't go back in the right place? So there's black over most of it. There's brown in places. It's just a combination. So it's not solid black and it's not solid brown. So here we go. Here goes the stamping platform over what I've painted. Good firm pressure down. And up we come. And there's our beautiful image brought back to life. And you can see where the darks are down in the darks of the petals. There's light catching around the tops. And those colours are just popping to life. If I want a little bit more, it's not going to move. So again, I can just go back in. There we go. With a little bit of extra dark, just around the top, I think maybe. And probably those leaves right under the main petal I just dabbed as well. So as I stamp this time, let's see what we get. Nice. There we are. So let's zoom out again. Excuse the camera wobbles. I could freeze and come back and all of that, but I think we'll just take the risk for today. So yeah, I really rather like that. Do I want some green leaves as well? Maybe I do, because I do like green. So I'll give that a little spritz. It's archival ink, so it's not going to come off fully. Once you've stamped in archival ink, the chances are your stamp is going to keep some of that inkiness. But as long as you've wiped away the surface, it's not going to affect its future stampings. So how about some leaves? Maybe a leaf that does that. In which case I'm now going to move this, because what I want is to be able to have that leaf stamp. Probably be quite nice if I still have it up against that edge, because it gives me a little extra. Gonna have those leaves. Can I pretend it's coming right off that stem? I could if I went sort of, that's going to be too high. I think maybe that would serve us, to just have the leaves coming up. yeah, it's coming up and shielding there. So let's grab that. That's where I want it. Flip this over. Come out a bit further so you can see. So that's going down. And again, I'm going to start with relatively little colour on that stamp. I'm going to start with the Pebble Beech again and hope that down here, and because the leaf is obviously a simpler stamp than the rose, that'll make it possible to see where I need to colour. Yeah, absolutely fine. So let's go in with a little bit of Rustic Wilderness. And again, I'm kind of going for half of each leaf, because then I'm going to go peeled paint for the other half. And obviously when I get to painting it, it's all going to spread out in any case. I might put a touch of colour onto that stem. It's going to be stamped over, but it'll still put in an appearance, as it were. I might take a little bit of, what have we got here? Old paper, just to give myself another colour to blend in to what's going on here. And a little bit of the peeled paint, Distress Spritz again. So you can see again with the Archival inks, using Archival ink, which I quite often do using the stamping platform. The stamping platform is picking up that colour. It's not going to come out, it's not going to affect future projects. It's all stuck on there. If you wanted to, you could clean it with some rubbing alcohol if you really like a pristine stamping platform. But you know me, pristine is not really the point as far as I'm concerned. Do I want a couple of spatters of the green, do you think, to go with my spatters of pink? Maybe I do. It's just a touch. It's just a flavour of green going on. And then, so I'm going to come back with the heat tool, do a little bit of drying. Again, not too much. You can see that tag is starting to peel up. And what I want to be a little bit careful about is making sure it doesn't alter too much. And then again, I'm going to come, so now you'll get to see it. I'm going to start with the, was this coffee? Potting soil. Potting soil. I'm going to start with the potting soil and give me full coverage of the stamp with that potting soil. I actually don't need this bottom bit because that's going to just go on there, but there we go. And then I'm just kind of dabbing in from the edges with the black and maybe a little bit up the stem, so that that's not quite as full coverage. This leaf here doesn't look to me as if it's got ink over all of it. So back in with a bit of potting soil, and then over it comes. With luck and the following wind, that will stamp my leaves back into focus. And actually, in terms of balancing with what's going on around it, I do want a bit more of the black. So we'll add a bit of black to the mix. And there they go. And the incredible detail, if I stamp that often enough, have I got enough colour? Yeah. The incredible detail of these really needs to be appreciated in close up. They are stunning stamps. Maybe I want a little bit of leaf coming down from there, or maybe I'm happy with that. Let's give that a quick little wipe, so then I'm not going to put ink on the tag as I experiment. It's a mistake I've made in the past. Do I want a little bit of leafiness coming down from up there? Maybe I do. Yes, let's do it. In which case, given that's coming off the top of the stamping platform and this has got a ridge on, in order to get that where I want it, I'm actually going to have to go at an angle. But that's fine. Leaves can go in any direction. It might be easier for my brain to do it that way up, I think. I've just done the thing you really don't want to do, which is let my magnets get attached to one another. You need to slide them sideways to get them to come off again. So up against there, balance that, up against there. I'm coming off the edge this way now. The tag's too long. No, it's going to have to be diagonally. That's weird. Never done that before. So that leaf's going to go over that hole. Does that bother me? In which case, do I want to come down in that angle? No, I don't want to come down in that angle. I want to do that. Let's see if I'm free of the edges of the... Yes, I am. Just. So I might go straight in with the potting soil this time, just because it makes it easier to see what you're colouring. Stamp that. And again, back in with some, I think I'll start with the peeled paint. And I'm sort of putting that at the, I suppose, the sunlit side of each leaf. Love that curly leaf there, sort of a bit bent up. Rustic wilderness on what would be the shadier side, I suppose, of each leaf. Putting quite a lot of colour down there because I'd like this one fully green. I've gone over the edge there. I really don't mind. That's all fine by me. It'll give it a looser, painterly look. A painterly look. What have I got here? Twisted citron. Why not? Just for fun. On the sunny side. Maybe of that bent up leaf because it's been curled up in the sun. And then just a little touch of my shimmer to the edges. And I think I'll keep that on the sunlit halves because that's where the light's going to shine when it hits. Just moving those greens around a bit so that they blend, not just completely two halves of a leaf, but the colour is shifting and moving. A little bit of green down the stem. It's not going to massively show because as I stamp over it, that's going to shift and change. Nice. Again, just a gentle little blast with the heat gun. So I don't want that top end of tag curling up too much. I just want to be safe and secure that it's going to stamp in the same place. It's out on a limb here. And again, just starting with the potting soil. So the reason I'm doing it with two colours rather than flat on is partly because that's just what I always do. I've never been much of a one for stamping in straight black. But also because I think it gives you that kind of sense of a vintage book where the ink has faded a little bit, or is no longer quite as strong as it was. I'm really enjoying that quite a lot. So again, the detail in those leaves is really best appreciated in close up. So as you can see, I've got leaves all over here now. I can give it a quick wipe pretty much straight away just with the cloth, and I will get some of that off just so it's not going onto the backs of any tags I put on here. You can have a go with a bit of water. That's not going to do much, but as I say, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, if you really want to get rid of archival ink, will do the job. So I think we can pop that out of the way for now, stamping platform. And yeah, if you want to see me finish this tag off, I might need to gather just a couple of bits in order to do that. I think maybe I want some words along the middle here. Maybe a paper doll. Maybe it's worth experimenting with a paper doll, or maybe we just want these roses to take pride of place. So I'm going to grab a couple of things and I'll be right back. I've grabbed a few possible bits and bobs to play with. The sun has gone in again, so we'll see. I can hopefully light the video up a little bit so that you can see it. There are, of course, lots of other beautiful stamps on here. I think given the text I've already got on the tag, I don't really need to put these two into action for this one, but I just thought I might stamp this little label. I've got a bit of paper here that's got just some smudges of maybe pumice stone and maybe antique linen, not sure. So for that I'll need just a little stamp. What is this? Grid block, a stamp block, a grid block. That's in potting soil, so let's have one in potting soil. If you've seen my Instagram recently, you'll have seen my little dried flower windowsill. So I grabbed some dried flower stems. I've got a little bit of lace over here. Lace? How girly can it get? It's flowers, it's pink, and it's lace. We're pushing the boat out today. Yeah, so that's a little bit of potting soil and a little bit of black, same as the roses were. So it's consistently through the thing, through the whole effect. And yeah, that's as simple as that. That just needs trimming. I might need both of them. I might just want the one. I'm going to go with a little white frame just on the outside of the line because I like to be able to see that my label is a label. You could trim right to the dark stamped line, but I'm going to keep just a little bit. That just gives me a little highlight. Two the same, maybe. We'll have a look. Maybe we don't want two the same. Maybe we do want two the same. Like so. Any minute now, what's probably going to come out are going to be the little Tim Holtz Curator labels. I think I don't dislike that, having two the same. Do I want it over the other side? Because one's over the left, one should be over on the right. Maybe. Let's have a look at that. I grabbed a couple of paper dolls just to take a look, but I think really they're covering up too much of my beautiful roses. That's not uninteresting. What about if he's sitting down here? Oh, there's something about that. No, I still think he detracts from... Oh, look, there's a little bit comes out for his elbow, so he's covering up slightly less. It's not quite what I'm after today, I don't think. I think I'm going to just stick with pink and flowery and lacy, to be honest. We'll maybe leave you there for now. And then the other thing I'm sort of thinking is a quote chip. So these are lovely, chunky phrases. Find joy in the ordinary, maybe. Big letters, documented. Oh no, that's a bit much. That's distracting from the roses. Today is full of possibilities. Oh, I like that. See, I do like that. Going right over the edge of the tag. What else have we got? Lucky is a state of mind. Today is full of possibilities feels good. With brave wings she flies. Yeah, but that would really need a she to refer to. Let's just see whether that's a thing. There she is. With brave wings she flies. I'm not sure. I'm getting over a cold. I'm filming this while I'm still getting over a cold, and my decisiveness is not what it usually is, and my brain's ability to come up with the words it wants is not quite what it usually is. But then her legs look as if they've sort of got chopped off and they're coming out. What about if he were to sit on... No, but if he sits on that, then you can't see it at all. Well, him sitting above the rose, so if he's raised up, you can see more underneath. Obviously not with the words, because he's covering them up, but if one went... laces, let's have a look at these just to see if it's maybe these instead. Is it some poppy stems? So these are just dried poppy seed heads from the garden. Really adorable little ones, actually. They're not speaking to me. What about these little seedy ones? No, again, it's detracting from the roses. A little bit of... If I had a vase full of roses, I would love to have gypsophila in with that. That's not awful. This is the trouble with crafting when you're feeling under the weather, is nothing makes sense and everything makes sense. Today is full of possibilities. What about if we had one going up and one going down? Let's snip that off. What about if we had one stem heading up in that direction, one stem heading down in that direction, and then we did that? Oh, I'm quite enjoying that. Can I get it to stick down enough? Maybe it has to go down this side of the rose. Or maybe it's just the one going upwards. Like so. That's getting closer. That's getting closer for me. Little label here. Maybe the other little label tucked behind here. Starting to see that as a possibility. Today's full of possibilities. So let's dismiss the rest of you. Let's maybe put some lace across the middle. I'll cut enough so that it overflows as well. Yes, okay. I'm just going to do it. I'm now going to do it. Enough debating, enough indecision. Just go. It's also partly, of course, because it's pink and flowery. I feel less at home with it, and therefore less certain of what I want to have happen next. Yeah, let's glue this down so I don't have the chance to redecide. Oh, but I tell you what it might want. Yes, okay, let's glue that one down there instead, since I've put the glue on, and I'm pretty sure I do want that one down there. What I will do is just quickly grab the curator labels and see if there isn't one, a slightly larger one to go with this. Many labels. I don't think I want a bright green one. What are you? You're quite dark, but maybe that's good. Maybe if we do dark and light, and then with this, yeah, see, starting to believe now. Does this want to go over the top of the words or underneath the words? Needs to go underneath the words, but these two I'm sure about, so a little bit of glue under there, maybe up just a smidge so we lose a little less of you, and then you offset in that direction. That's going to go a little bit further up. Got time to get you a little further up. Yep, like so. And then what I want is a sort of maybe a little darkish one to go down here with you. Yes, happy. It does work. It starts to come together. Your brain starts to agree with what you're doing. And there's maybe going to need to be a little something up here, although given the flowers are going up there, no, it still wants just a little something. Just a little something. Maybe a round one, maybe. What are you? You're a beautiful hexagonal shape. No, too much. It's going to be subtle. Whatever it is, it's going to be something fairly subtle, I think. Green one. Yes, that'll do. Does it want a little pale thing with it? In which case it might be a very little pale thing. Two dark things? No, that's too dark. I could always stamp another of these, but then that would be 3 of those on there, which would really be a little much. Have we got a round one we can maybe use? Ooh, maybe this one that's got a little bit of red writing on because of the reds in the roses. Have a look at that. Maybe that's what we want up there. Yep, I like that. So you can see what's happening. The eye is traveling left, right, left, top, middle, bottom. That'll do nicely. What I might do even, we'll have a look in a sec, a little bit of glue. I wonder if you can hear the train down in the valley, the flooded valley. Train down in the flooded valley. We stand thankfully on higher ground, so we've been all right. Don't want to overlap the rose, but because these two are much paler, I'm just going to bring back in. Where did the white pen end up, I wonder? Let's pop that in there. Put these flower stamps away because they're bugging me now. Don't want to lose my little label because I'm rather fond of that little label. It's already done good service, first time out. White pen. Oh, white pen is under my paper doll bag. And I'm just going to use that white to just make this a little paler. Yep, subtle but worth it for my money. Today is full of possibilities, isn't it just? Going to trim that off so that it lines up with this bit. Trim that off so it lines up with this bit, just a slight angle so it can fray and get messy, because we like fraying messy things. That seems pretty good to me for something pink and lacy. I just glue it down. Is that it? Is that what it wants? Do we want this little bit as well? Do we want to trim off this bit so it's not going across the rows? I think maybe we cut it there. Can't change your mind now. Do we want another little bit coming downwards? I don't think so. I think that's a bit too contrived somehow. Or is it? Away. Back. See what I mean about decisiveness? Doesn't want to go that way. No. Well, that's clear. Definitely not doing that. Maybe it wants to be a smaller sprig. Maybe if I were to use just a little bit of this. Let's take that one off. See what this does. Yeah, and I think if I trim off, I don't want it coming out the other side. Go away. Just under there. Yes, it sort of has a look of an Edwardian lady's diary. And I'm using the word lady because I'm using Edwardian. Any more modern than that, she would have to be a woman in my vocabulary. Lady is too posh and prissy for me. Yes, it does. It looks like something out of an Edwardian young lady's book of, I don't know, botanical studies. So this is not touching everywhere. So I'm just trying to get some bits of glue around on some of the places where I know these flower stems were touching the tag. But the main thing that hopefully is going to hold them down, I just dropped glue on there. It's not very helpful. The main thing I'm hoping is going to hold them down effectively is going to be this when I glue it. So I just want them approximately in position, and then a good dollop of glue onto here. In fact, what I might use for that, rather than this one, is going to be my super thick, where is it? Super heavy gel, Liquitex super heavy gel, which just means that it grips immediately. Somewhere there must be a coffee stirrer that I can dig into here with. Yeah, there we are. So this is kind of like almost like peanut butter, I guess, is the or cream cheese. And it just means that if you apply this, it's so gloopy and so thick that it will kind of hold immediately before it's even dried. It will hold in place, and it will hold anything you've got there in place as well. Just want to adjust the angle of that a little bit and press down. And then our standard choice of tool, to hold that in place while it dries is the good and trusty clothes peg. One on each end. Make sure it's straight, straightish, straightish. Is it sticking out an equal amount each side? No, it's sticking out a bit more on that side than that side. So slide across. So that glue hasn't dried yet, as you can see. I've still got a little bit of flex, but it is holding quite nicely in place already. And if I let that dry, just 10 minutes or so should do it. Let's clear that out. Yeah, so I think probably what it'll be is a little bit of twine through the top, maybe a little bit of inking around the edge, maybe a little bit of white spatter. You know it's going to happen. So all of those things I will do, and then I'll come back to give you a little close-up. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the stamping platform in action. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of colouring with those distress watercolour pencils. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing how just that touch of shimmer, I'll definitely do that in the close-ups for you, can add a little bit of extra magic to, yeah, that's about as pink and girly as I'm ever going to get here. I hope you've enjoyed seeing it. If so, do leave me a thumbs up, leave any comments or questions down below. Thank you so much for your company, as always, on this creative journey. It's amazing interacting with you, and I'm delighted that you're feeling inspired and enjoying our few minutes of fun together. Happy crafting all.